Hi.
Yay! Episode number
Hi. Hello. How's
one.
it going?
I'm great. How
I'm
are
so
you?
excited. I'm great. I'm great. So wow, I'm
Uh,
excited.
I'm
This is amazing.
excited too.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm Tracy and you're
Hi.
Pat.
I'm Pat.
And it's our first episode and we don't even have a name. So let's talk about why we wanted to do this, why we think this is an amazing idea, and number
Okay.
two, what we maybe should call it, and maybe people can put in the comments what they think too.
Yes. Amazing.
All right.
Amazing.
You
Yes.
want to explain or you want me to explain?
So
We
okay.
both
So this is
talk a
gonna
lot, so it could be hard.
this is gonna be about small business. We're both small business owners, and then so Tracy is Tracy Gunn, and we're like, okay, we're thinking about the name so we can help us out. I won't take too much time, but like, so the name would be the Gun Show, right? But as a business, I was like, okay, should we call it like the Game and the Gun Show or something like that? Because in the popular podcast, the Game, right? It's like so it is about the game. So I'm thinking like the Game and the Gun Show, right? Something like that. And this, but we're gonna get a bunch of like hunters that come in and be like, oh yeah, this is gonna be about this podcast. It's gonna be total opposite. But I
Right.
think that's fun. Anyway,
I
that's just a
like it
thought.
too.
You guys tell me what you guys think, and you tell me what you think, Tracy.
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, again, I only picked the gun show and
Yes,
because it's silly and I'm like,
yes,
but the
I
and just
love it.
because it's me. But I mean, I love that it's a game, but it's also, I don't know, I think there's a play there. I think you're right. So I think it's going to come to us. And I think one of our genius watchers are also going to put some things in there that are going to
Agreed.
spark exactly
Agreed.
what
Agreed.
we
Agreed.
think. Right. Okay. So I want to say too. So Pat and I were partners. We're in a group together called Owners Club with Pace Morby. We do real estate investing in addition to business ownership. And
Yeah.
we were partners for homework. And so I didn't know him, he didn't know me. And we were like on the phone. We finally caught up with each other because we're typical owners in 100 directions.
Yes.
And we were like, oh my gosh, we're the same person. Like, I'm just like a tall blonde lady from like New York. But Pat and I
And
are
I'm
the
from the
same.
South.
And we realized, like, Pat's in Atlanta, I'm in Charlotte part-time in New Hampshire now, but we realized, oh my gosh, all the things that we both have gone through are so similar. Like we're the same person because I think business owners, at least serial entrepreneurs, are
Yes.
all the same, right?
Yes.
We have all the same flavor. So we thought it would be super fun to kind of talk about just normal stuff, business stuff, because it's so relatable, because we relate so well to each other because we're the same. And we thought, gosh, there's nobody talking about this stuff. Am I right?
Yes, that is so true. Sorry, I've got my son in the background. He's school is starting a little bit later. for him. Yes,
That's
but
life.
yes, that is correct. Yes, but yes, no, but as business, I think. Oh, sorry, my camera's not staying still.
That's
Hold on.
okay. You'll make us all seasick.
Yes. Okay, it stays still enough there. So yes, the thing.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yes, and then it kicked
Got
in.
it.
Sorry, here we go. This is what we do, guys. This is what we learn
You
in business.
adapt and overcome. That's all.
Yes, yes. But it's funny, like being relatable, right? Being total opposite ends and being relatable. It's just the fact that it's our experience. We can relate to things, and it's just growing up in the South, and I'll just kind of use that analogy of being relatable. It's like when you go into a room and you're like, oh, somebody who's from the same place as you. Oh, I'm from New York. I'm from New York. Oh, what school did you go to? And then you automatically relate, and you feel that relatability is how we felt. But from a business standpoint, from
Yeah,
owning business, from the struggles of business, we can feel each other because we have all gone through that similar struggle. So
totally.
I think that's universal. And that is universal in so many angles, in so many ways, right? Whether somebody is, from a different race, from a different color, from a different thing. I think when you start to understand what that person's gone through, I think that's what makes us relatable. So, which is great, which is why I love our relationship. But
I
yes,
love it,
so
love it. And I think you're right too, because I think Pace had talked about one point, like we speak owner, right? It's like you owned a restaurant, I owned a restaurant, and like there is a lingo in restaurant, like we know,
yes,
right? Like go cry
Yes.
on the walk-in is a thing, right? Right? 86 so and so is a thing. Like,
Yes, exactly.
and just the industry, but business is like that too. And
It is.
and so that's at a higher level, right? With more things, not just a niche in business, but all businesses. Business is business. And the struggles between staff and methods and cons and customers and Google reviews and all the things are universal, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Also shiny objects and
And you know what's hard too, right? So, and this is the reason why I love this conversation. I love what we're kind of creating here in the podcast. Is that, for me, looking out my window right now, like with the neighbors, right? Like with my neighbors, like they have no clue what us small business owners go through, right? They're
no,
W
they
two.
don't.
They, they're maybe high earners, and they're very educated people. They're very smart. They're,
Yeah.
university professors, teachers, doctors, lawyers, attorneys, and they're great. They're wonderful people, but they do not understand what we go through.
They
They
do
just do
not.
not get it. They don't get it. So yes, so I'm glad we were at least having something for people like us.
I love it. Well, I have like a story. So even in our group of owners, I had somebody who bought something from me because we help each other out, and sometimes there's a cost. So somebody bought something from me. Okay, it processed. The next day decided I don't want to do this. I'm going to go a different way. Refund everything. Now, if you ever owned retail, the minute you start refunding, it's costing you money. So
Exactly.
this person bought something from me, asked me for a refund. I refunded her, cost me, I don't know, 40 or 50 bucks to refund her. And like, I was like, if you were an owner, you would completely like understand that, like,
Yes.
this is not, I'm not Amazon, right?
Exactly.
Like, your choices cost me money.
Yes.
And again, am I going to cry about $50? No. But it's the point that not all owners even get those pieces, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And I
Well,
was like,
there's
"Oh my
something else
gosh, how
too.
did she not understand that?" And then how do you not be a jerk and not say it? But, like, this is a anyway, it was
But
just
but
really
but
interesting. I was like, "Oh my
but
gosh."
there's also, and just bringing that up, there's entrepreneurship, right? In terms of having employees, staff, taxes, all that, right?
Yes.
Right. And then there's solopreneurship, right?
True
So, like
enough,
for
true
example, I'll
enough.
tell you a story. Like my sister is always says, "I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own business. I own my own business." Well, she's a hairstylist and she does photography. She's a solopreneur that has
Yeah.
never had to pay rent. That has never, that's not worried so much about
Yes.
taxes, and doesn't have employees that
Mhm.
will come at you for 10 different angles, that for
Yes.
some reason, if they don't like you, they, I'll give you just like a quick story, right? Employees would come in, they'll come in and they'll work for a day, they'll quit the next day, and they'll go and file unemployment.
Oh, I know.
And you're
I
like,
know.
oh wow, they're here not to work, they're here just to get unemployment.
Yes.
So those are things
Yes.
that we deal with daily, and then on top of that, then we have the government, the
True.
tax regulations,
I think you're
and
right.
all.
I think it's a different level. So I think we're talking to people who feel all the things, right? Meaning, like, and again, solo entrepreneurs could listen because some things are going to be relatable. But when I had my restaurants, I had a total of 42 staff. Now, if anybody who's ever had staff's like, whoa, that's a lot of people. And in the
Yes.
restaurant industry, that means a lot of crazy people that
Yes.
are like, often using in some way, shape, or form some kind of addiction. Like restaurant is a whole different world. If you haven't watched The Bear, you should, because then you would understand. But like
Well, well, you,
all that.
well, something else too, because we own a salon for about 20 years, and even till this day, like as as I tell other business owner and corporate owners, I was like, if you hire anybody, if they have, let's just say, for example, if they have a degree and they worked at a restaurant as they're going through college, hire that person.
Yeah,
Hire that person, because that person will know how to handle stress, people,
everyone
and
should.
all. Exactly, exactly. Those are the best employees, because they've gone through it. They know the basic of just understanding how to have decent service to get a tip. Right? It's just those things. The people that come
Customer
straight out of
service and
school.
multitasking. Those
Exactly,
two, and
exactly,
time management. Those
exactly.
three things
Yes.
Um, so working with other people, I think,
Exactly.
because you could hate somebody. I mean, in a restaurant, like you could have a bad night and everyone's cursing at each other and yelling
Yeah.
at each other in the
Yes.
kitchen. And at the end of the night, they're like, "Hey, you want to hang out tomorrow?" Sure. Like that's
Exactly.
very normal. Which
Yes.
for most
Yes.
of the world, they're like, "What? You just hated each other." Well, yeah, but it
Yes.
was during the shift, right?
Yeah.
It's over. So
That's so
true.
true.
It's so true. Oh my gosh. So, okay, we're 10 minutes in. And okay, so we talked about what we want, like, this is to be about and why we
Yeah.
want to do this. And we're just going to have the best time, me and you. And if other people watch, that's cool. But like, we're going to have the best time doing this. And then
That's
we also talked about the name. We're not sure yet. And then where we come from. So I think let's talk about how you started, like, how did you become an entrepreneur? I don't even mean the serial part, but like what made you go from I'm going to work for other people to I want to work for myself, even if it's solo. What made you do that and what did you do?
So I'll start. Oh my gosh, when I was probably a teenager, I went and I would knock on small businesses' window and I would clean the windows, right? So I was like, okay, how
Mhm.
can I? I've always had it in the back of my mind, like it's like you have this, growing up. I'm gonna say growing up in America, you've always had this dream of climbing up what America or corporate tells you is like go to college, go get a job,
Yeah.
climb up the corporate ladder, right? And when I
Yep.
realized that, okay, I'm different. I'm just not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And as I've tried a little bit to get into that, I was like, it's just not for me. It's just that I just felt like something wasn't right. And
Mhm.
in my mind, it's always like I have to spend all these years
Uh-oh. I
50
lost
cent
you for a
raise, right?
second. Oh, there you go. You're
Okay.
back. Sorry, I lost
Yeah.
you for a second.
No problem. Somebody's calling me, so that's why I'm
Oh,
on my
okay.
phone. So technical difficulties, but
That's okay.
but the idea of working for someone and waiting a year just to get back then, I don't know how it is now, but back then, that quarter raise, that 50 cent raise, and you're like, oh, great, I got a 50 cent raise. It doesn't put a dent on anything, and
No.
I don't know. I think it's just and not having that freedom, right? I just there was something in me that felt like I was different. I was like, no, there's something out there. So so I went around, wash windows. I went around. I explored a little bit in my younger
Mhm.
years. But then when I got out of high school, I just went to work. Like I was working different retail jobs,
Mhm.
and I realized that uh, when I went to college, when I went into college, I realized that wasn't for me either. It's like I got to this is how my mind works, right? So you telling me I got to pay for college because my parents were not paying for college. I didn't get any tuition.
Same.
I was more of an artist than I am, a college student, right? And I was like, okay, so I got to pay for college. I got to commute. I got to pay all this money, and as I'm signing up, I have to take running and just to get that curricular out of the way. I have to take something that I don't even like to get out of the way. I'm like,
Same.
this sucks. Like this is not for me. And when I went, and I'm not the best writer. And what happened was I had this class. It was a writing class, and I was like, okay, I'm not the best writer. I'm not going to prove stuff that I can't. So I went and I took this book and I wrote from this book and I took pieces of it, and then when I got the report back, the professor put on there plagiarizing, and he went in there. And he's like, "You got this, and this," and I was like, "Plagiarizing? That sounds so bad," you know, and
You were just resourceful. That's all.
yes, but I was like, but I'm not gonna spend hours doing this. I'm not a writer. Like it's just that's just not me, right? Like one day I'm gonna write a book, but it's okay. And nowadays to think back, there's ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT for all my resources. Like, hey, write me a book about
Mhm.
this. So thinking about that, it's just I'm bringing this memory back because now it's in the
Yeah.
world of ChatGPT and everything. I'm like, I wasn't trying to plagiarize, but I felt so guilty that I was like, this is not for me. So after that, I
Oh.
said, you know what, I'm college is not for me. I'm not going to college. So I dropped out. I tried that route. I was like, it's just the way my brain works. It just doesn't work. Like why not? Like again, it's that why. Like we asked the why. So I'm like, why do I have to take all these crappy class to get to what I want? Which I
Yeah.
don't even know what I want, or I don't even know what I want. Like it's just it
Agreed.
sucks, right? So, and then I thought about, okay, maybe, so I grew up here in Atlanta. I'm an immigrant. So, we come from Laos through the Vietnam War, because my dad was
Oh,
a
okay.
chopper pilot. He was
Mhm.
an Army chopper pilot,
Oh, wow.
U.S. trained, not U.S. Army, but U.S. trained.
Yeah.
And so as we came here, we were immigrants. We were poor. We grew up in a community here in Atlanta, in a poor community in Atlanta. But overall, it was just that I realized that every question that I asked why, and it didn't suit me, right? Like certain angles that corporations put you in, or certain systems or the school, it didn't suit me. It just didn't feel right. But so with that
Mm.
being said, I I I went and I worked several different jobs. I mean, I think I did car washing for a little bit, and it was like one day I washed like 20 cars, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hard work. and I
Were
and
you
I
getting paid or was it your job? Like, was it your gig or were you getting paid to do it? Like
I
by
was
a,
getting
a person?
I think both.
Like, was it, did you work for somebody else or were you doing it side hustle?
I think I was doing a side hustle, and I ended up got side hustle and worked for somebody else. I
Yeah.
think it was a mixture. I think I was going knocking, hey, I can do this, and the guy was like, sure, I'll let you do it.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
he had a contract with a dealership, and I think I washed like 40 cars in one day in the hot sun in Atlanta. And I think by the time I was done, so my complexion is the Asian pretty pale complexion, and I think I was like black by the time the day was over. And the next day, I think I had sunburn. It was hilarious.
Oh my gosh. So did that
But
cure you? Like, what was the first one that was a real business?
gosh, I think I've tried to, so those were my younger years, right? So they were
Yeah,
just side hustle. They were
you're
never real.
figuring it out.
Yes, yes, yes. They were never real. I think what I realized this, and I'll go back to the restaurant. I used to work in a restaurant as I was in school and college too, is that I realized that when it comes to money, and this is my early stage of money, and I'm working on it still, but I realized that all you need to do is make, and this is from working in a restaurant in tips, right? It's like all you need to do is make, let's say for example, $200 a night, right? Or $200 a day. If you do that times five, then then it adds up, right? So that's all. So it's like it's little numbers, and then in as a server, it's like you good if you make 100. So I'm like, okay, so that's kind of how you act, right? You make 100 a night, you good. You make 80 a night, decent. You make 200 a night, that's a busy weekend. That's great. That's what you want to kind of keep going towards, right?
Yep.
So I think once you realize that if you break it down and you do that in the time that it takes, I think that's to me that was the spark of entrepreneurship, right? So I would wash windows for $7 per window, right? So
Hmm.
per store, and that was cheap, but it was a while back. But I was like, okay, but there's uh, 8 stores. I just needed 6 out of 8, and I could do a window and washing the windows in like 10 minutes, and I could do
Wow.
probably within an hour. I can do the whole complex, right?
Right.
And at the end of the day, that whatever that times, it could be like $40, it could be $20, but
Hmm.
you did that and you did it consistently, it adds up. So it's just the little bitty bites that we take to add up. So that was kind of the mindset that I kind of started to kind of believe in and saw.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
but those
compared to
my early
being
days.
paid like $8 an hour or $5 an hour, right? And I think that's the difference between working retail and working in a restaurant, right? When you make that leap and you're like, oh yeah, I'm only getting paid $2 or $3 an hour.
Yes,
But if I do a good job, you're compensated usually. I mean, there's still
yes,
jerks, but like you're compensated for your efforts in a compounded period of time. Instead of
yes,
it being an 8-hour shift, right, at $8 an hour, you could do it in like if the pop is only a couple hours, in 4 hours, you could be in and out of there and make quadruple. And you're like,
exactly,
wait a minute, this doesn't
exactly,
make any sense to do retail if I could do that.
exactly,
And then
exactly. Yeah.
what else could you do, right? So I had the same thoughts, like because I was a server, I owned restaurants, but like going from retail, where I was always a good worker. Um, and so like I would always rise to the top and they'd give me more and more responsibility, not always more money, but more responsibility because I would just do the thing because I cared, right? But I realized, oh my gosh, they don't care about me. They're not compensating me, right? They're
Yeah.
expecting it.
Yes.
Whereas at least with serving, you get compensated.
Exactly.
And sometimes not even when you deserve it, right? You could have a really
Yes.
crappy night and be like behind all night and never catch up, and people feel bad
Yes.
for you and throw money at you too. So that's always helpful. But yeah, exactly. So I think, I mean, so that's interesting. That's like how you kind of started thinking, as opposed to you had a bad experience in college where you're like, this is not for me. You had like some early entrepreneurial American dream, kind of like, I could go out and make money and like compound it, right? And then you kind of started to break, we're kind of like conditioned, like you just said, about go to high school, go to college, get a job so you can buy a house, like to do the things, right?
Yeah.
They've lined out this map for us in America. Whereas the American dream used to be, come to America where you could do anything you want, and you could have a different life,
Yes.
right? You could build a business because America was built on businesses, like
Exactly. Yes.
entrepreneur, and then, but somewhere, and this is like a gripe for me, and maybe it was 60s or 70s, but they shifted from, hey, everyone should own a business, to everyone should work for somebody.
Exactly. Exactly.
Isn't
Yes.
that crazy? And you know what bothers me the most about that is that you're divorced from what ownership looks like, and what owners. So like, I've had this argument, we're getting into tax season, and I have my argument with my staff, and they're like, I'm like, well, I pay your taxes. They're like, no, you don't. I pay my tax. I'm like, no, you don't. They're like, yes, I do. I'm like, okay, you pay part. I
Yes.
withhold it. First of
Yes.
all, let's just go there. I withhold some of your taxes, and then I match your taxes, and then I pay a little
Exactly.
extra plus all your other stuff. They're like, you do? I'm like, yes. But they have no idea, because the only
No.
thing they look at is their paycheck.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Yes.
They don't look at what the government has taken.
No.
They just look at what they take home, and that's their pay. So they're so
Yes.
divorced from the reality of what they've paid in.
Yes.
And I think whether that was calculated or not, we could get into some rabbit holes here. But like, the whole idea is like, we removed that. When you were when everybody owned businesses, everybody understood how that worked.
Yes.
And most people don't understand how that works now.
Well, don't you think that we are, and I don't want to get too far in the other rabbit hole, but like it's the total opposite, not the opposite, but times have changed. Times have changed that we're in right now, with
Hmm.
AI and all these different things, and the separation of wealth and
Mm,
expense, right? Food
yep.
expense, real estate expense. There's so
Everything
many
costs a
things that
lot.
everything. And I think that we're starting to have this different gap where, there's certain jobs that we had back then is probably not going to exist much longer, right?
Correct.
So with
Correct.
that being said, I think that it's changing. College is not the same anymore, right? College now,
No.
it's people can get anything they want just on YouTube University, right?
Yeah.
And people are not having to go and another rabbit hole. College is a business. College is
It
a
is a
business
business.
itself.
Yep.
So
And the
this is my
government supported it by like giving all these loans to people they knew they would never be able to pay back.
exactly. And again, we could talk about that. That's another rabbit hole.
Yeah, a
But
whole other story. But my thought was, is like, you go to school, you pay. My daughter went to Tufts, so it was like 60 grand a year for
yes,
4 years, $240,000.
yes,
She wound up being a doctor. So she's still in school. She just got her
yes,
fellowship. But my
yes,
point is, so $240 you've paid now to get whatever degree you have, if you don't need more, so that you could have a life, get a job, and buy a house. When
yes,
now you're in debt for 240,000. If you had just taken a loan for 240,000 and bought a house, you could do whatever you want, right? Like, we've removed the middleman. And what kind of job can you really get after 4 years where they're
yes,
going to pay you enough to pay back 240,000?
exactly.
Not a
Exactly.
lot. So
Not
it's
a lot.
crazy. So
Yeah,
I am
yes,
all about business, and I love that we're teaching people now. We had definitely had a trend, at least in schools, where they were really pushing people to go to school. Like, that was
yes,
all they wanted to talk. But now
yes,
all the trades are dipping. We don't have people to do bricklaying and tile work and
exactly,
carpentry.
exactly,
So it's
exactly.
coming around again. You're exactly right. And those
Yes,
are business owners in some sense. Most of the time, solopreneurs, but they
yes,
still. They're like managing their time, going through the pain, maybe hiring a couple,
But
pay
some,
employees, go back,
yes. But Tracy, that for me, I've always been around the Hispanic community as
Mhm,
part of my business and just kind of what I've done.
mhm.
And my realization, and this is, and maybe not now, but at least maybe 15 years ago, that the workers, right, the day workers, the undocumented workers, the Hispanic workers, they make as much, or if not sometimes more money than the average American
Yeah, I believe it.
because they're not paying taxes and it's cash, and the amount that they make. Because I realized that, and we can, it's another thing we can go into it
Uh-huh.
on the road, but it's like they if you think about the amount of taxes that we pay in the system that we kind of get into,
Yeah.
it's they have more what we call liquidity, right? Like it's just they had more cash to
They
spend.
keep more.
They
I
keep
mean, they
more.
keep it all, and then
They
they
keep it
send it
all.
home.
Exactly, exactly. So it's just, and not to get into
Yeah.
politics or anything like that, but if the
Mhm,
government would just understand that and allow some of them, and again, I don't know enough, so I'm not going to get
I
into it. But from a tax standpoint, I mean, it's just
mhm,
that, because these works need to be done, and I think that nowadays, like you said, I think it's the reverse, right? Now we're getting
yeah,
into more of it's the fantasize. The fantasization. I don't. Sorry if I don't use the right words, but fantasizing that we are, a nation that is going to go to college, that's going to get out, get a good job, climb the corporate
yeah.
ladder. I think those days are long gone. I think the days
I
of
think they're
network.
dying for sure. I
Yes,
mean,
yes,
and they just keep raising the rates. Like, what how could you justify 80 to $100,000 a year for an undergraduate degree?
exactly, exactly.
Like, it's silliness. But
Yes,
also, I think too, it goes back to people being divorced from reality in that. So when I first started my candy store, and we'll get into what I'm doing, but I did cupcakes, and only because customers kept harassing me. There was nobody in town that would do. We have a college in town. They wanted to send Johnny birthday cupcakes, and so I started doing them. And I had zero interest in being a baker, but I'm a business person, so I was like, okay, I'll start it. And so I've been doing cupcakes probably for 16 years. But since then, I've had 4 places open on my main street, 4, that all sell cupcakes, and cookies. They've also add to that 100 people on Facebook who are all doing it out of their houses. Now, the
wow,
ones who at least have businesses where they're paying rent and insurance and employees, right? They at least are on the same playing field as me, right? But the people doing it from home, I knew somebody who was baking cupcakes using her food stamp money to buy all the supplies and then
yes,
was charging the same as me.
yes,
Well, she doesn't have any overhead. She didn't have
yes,
any cost of goods. It's pure profit for her. She has
yes,
nothing but time. So I was like, man, like that we are the same in the eyes of the public, right?
yes,
We're the same. Oh, well, so and so does it for this, and I can get it from you. But the odds are stacked against me as a
yes,
legitimate business, right?
yes,
And is that fair? Right?
Th-
Is
yes. That's
that
correct.
fair? I don't know. But like that's the reality. So when people on their main streets start to disappear, it's like, well, what I wonder why. You decided to do the same thing I do, 4 of you in the
Yes,
last year.
yes,
Well, it's not like we're growing. I'll tell you, New Hampshire's not growing. We're just splitting the pie into smaller pieces.
exactly, exactly. Yes.
And so it's really interesting. And people
But you
don't
know that.
understand that though.
But here's now talking about that because I had a similar experience in my salon business, right? But
Mm,
here's the thing: when you're doing something great and it's a trend and then people start to do it, you 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 almost want to be in what my partner used to say, eye of the hurricane. And then when you're in the eye of the hurricane, and then everyone else is going to start to catch up with you. That's the roller coaster of business. You're going to go up, and then all of a sudden you're going to,
mhm. Yep.
stagnant, and you're going to start back down until you can figure out the next pivot. But when you are in that roller coaster of going up, right? When you're trending up, and you start to see people catch up with you, you have a good thing because they're trying to
Yeah,
catch up with you.
for sure.
But what do you do next is the most important question. Like what happens
Right.
next? Because
Yeah.
that's, I think, not only with cupcakes, that happens in, because I've experienced the same thing. And
Yeah.
it's just, that's what we deal with. We're entrepreneurs. Those are the stuff that we deal with daily, and nothing is
Every
100%.
day.
It's not 100%. It's not constant every single day.
Mhm.
It changes all the time. And that's the beauty. I call it the beauty. I
That's
don't know
what
if
I
it's a beauty
love.
or a curse. I
I
don't know if it's
love
a
it.
beauty or a curse. I can't tell, but that's what
It's
we deal with.
both.
Yes, yes.
But
Daily,
don't you
daily.
develop those muscles? Those so I've been in now I've had my candy store for 18 years,
Okay.
which is a long time for business.
Yes.
And so I know that my muscles, my entrepreneurial muscles, are stronger than any of these newbies,
Yes.
right? Because I now have the wherewithal within myself, but also resources and also continuity and staff and established reputation to outlast most of them. Right. So I talked to one of them and I was like, well, like, we're just cutting the pie smaller. And they're like, oh, well, the best one will win. And I was like, really? Let's talk about McDonald's. Is McDonald's the best burger? No,
Yes.
it's not. It's not about the best. It's about who has the best system. It's who can and who can outlast. And that's the other part, right? Is
Exactly.
outlasting. But I was just referring to like the idea that people are so divorced from the business owner plight and the odds that are against us.
Yes. Yes.
Like the statistics that, 9 in 10 fail, you know, that most don't last the first year. If not the first year, then the first 5 years, right? And most don't. And then on the other end of that, most never sell. They say up to 80% never sell, which is
Yes.
another passion project for me. But like, why are we doing this? Because we're
You know,
cuckoo.
there's so many angles to that, because it's just, no, I think, just to be basic, right? Just to,
Yeah.
number one, this is all we know how to do. We don't know anything
Yeah.
else,
It's true.
right? This is what we know. This is what we live. This is what we breathe. And this is the mops and pops. The old Chinese restaurant. Where the family has owned it for like 30
Pizza
years.
place.
Yes,
Bagel store, all the things. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, they've done it. This is this is all they know, and it is. I
They make
think
it work.
that there's a beauty in that within itself,
Mm,
and
agreed.
and I think this is what I love. Like I love these conversations because these are the things that we need to talk about more. These are the guests that we're going to bring in, and these are the
Yeah.
conversations we need to have, because now, and I know we're in a we're in the same mastermind where we talk about these
Yeah.
things, but at the same time, there's also what we don't think about, and you and I have talked this. What about unity, right? Like what if we got together as all of us small business together, and I'm just, this is just an idea, right? And we fought the Starbucks, the
Right.
McDonald's, right? Like that,
Yeah.
there's power in strength. But the problem is we are so individual that we stay away from each other, that we don't have the power of strength, which is what we are now trying to create, like the power of strength,
Right.
guys. What do you understand how much power we have if we just stick together?
Together.
We just, yes,
Well, because most people, like if you haven't read the E-Myth, you should, but like the idea is you're just so locked into your world
yes,
that you've created, or prison, however you want to refer to it, right? Depending on the day, but you're so locked in to your business that you most of the time you can't even think about the other businesses around you. So, for
yes,
example, for 12 years, I was chair of our downtown group. And I'd be like, okay, let's do this event. Let's bring everybody together. Let's do this. Let's do this. I couldn't get people to just show up for a meeting to talk about it because they're so in their business and survival. And I think that's part of the detriment, right?
it
Because if
is.
we were all together, which is why we pay for masterminds, which is why we join groups, which is why we follow along, is because we're learning from each other. And you could shortcut some of your pain, you could shortcut some of your problems, and also have alliances. Like our downtown, we could be really strong together, but instead we're like herding cats and
Yes.
everybody's out for themselves, right?
Yes. Yes.
And we as owners get to decide who we're going to be in that. Are we going to do our
Well,
own thing, or are we going to be a part of the big thing, right?
and when did we start learning that? Because I was telling my partner Christiani this in 18, 19 years of our salon business,
Hmm.
we have always been head, like this is us, right? Like we're staying focused.
Right.
And because it was a brick and mortar business and people came to us, we
Yeah.
were in a bubble. Like it was just
Yeah.
us. It was just like her and I.
True.
And for 18 years, we didn't talk to other salon owners. We didn't talk to other, different, business owners. Like
Hmm.
we're like, okay, we're business owners, and we just kind of stayed parallel, but we never
Sure.
connected. We never collaborated. We never did anything in that standpoint
Yeah.
together. We're always competitors, right? That was our mind. We were always
Right.
competitors. But at the same time, I think that hurt us.
Yeah.
That hurt us. And I was like, now we've learned that community is so huge and what community can do for each other. And we can learn from each other. We can build with each
Yes.
other. And I think that entrepreneurs nowadays, especially solopreneurs,
Yeah.
moms and pops, this is what we need. This is the drive. We need to bring people together that
For
are
real.
owners. We need to
Hmm.
let them to understand that there's power in that,
Yeah. Well,
because
and there's
it's
the answers in the room. Like, and this is, I think I have found, maybe you've struggled with it too in the community, in our mastermind, is that we're always encouraged to be like connecting with each other. But as
yes,
a bootstrapping entrepreneur, you're just so in and you're like, I'll take care of it, I'll figure it out, I'll do it. But the answer is
yes,
often in the room, in the people you meet that could get you what you need. But we're
yes.
so conditioned to just take care of it, right?
Exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
so in some ways we're resourceful and we figure crap out, but in the other way we hurt ourselves because we haven't done what you talked about is the
And,
collaboration part,
and I
right?
struggle with that daily. Like to this day, even though I know it, I struggle with it because I just it's one of the biggest struggles.
It
Sebastian,
is a struggle. I
can
mean,
you get ready for school?
it's because we've always done it ourselves. Like, because ultimately, even when you hire staff, even if you have a partner, I just did a post this week and it was about how no matter who you hire, what you think, no matter how you plan, inevitably something's going to fall apart and you are going to have to be the one who does it. Like I posted, I'm the baker again. 18
Yes.
years, I'm the baker again. I've been through probably
Yes.
12 bakers. My baker quit, no notice. I thought it was a great fit. And I'm like, do I even bother teaching somebody else? Because I have
Yes.
systems and I can make it where, you know, I could do it once a month, bulk, and just get it done. Now, do I want to do that? I don't know. But for right now, I'm going to, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Sorry, I was getting my
It's
son. I was like, he got to go
no,
to
that's
school.
okay. It's all good. So, I mean, we're almost 40 minutes, which is longer than
Yes.
we anticipated, but this
Exactly.
is what's going to happen for us. We're going to have to like set a timer because you and I will go in 100 directions.
Exactly. Exactly. No, but I like
And
it. No, I think it's great. I
I
love it.
love it.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
hopefully it's like I think the first bunch of episodes are really going to be about like connecting with other owners, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
obviously are getting to know each other as much as
Yeah.
well, right? But like we're similar, but we don't know each other really.
Yes.
And I think people will also get to know us and relate to us because I
Yeah.
think so
Yes.
much, like we've learned, so much is about rapport building and understanding each other and understanding where each other comes from and where we are and what we're struggling with. And frankly, every business owner has struggled with staff. Every business owner has struggled with taxes and reporting and the government and oversight and
Yeah.
weak sales and computer technology and like and rising prices and inflation and bad locations and
Yeah.
pipe bursts. And we all have struggled with crap that
Yes.
we've had to, instead of crying, even though we wanted to, just take care of it and
And
deal
we
with
do
it, right?
sometimes.
And we do. Oh, yes, I
Yes.
spent
Yes.
Christmas crying. That's a
Yes.
different story. But like, yeah, like, and that even after 18 years, you still can mess up yourself, but also outside influences can mess you up, and you
Exactly.
still have to deal with it.
But you know,
Um,
out of all that, like we have graduated in the, you know, in the world of experience, in the world of effing
yeah.
up. You know, like we already did
Yes.
this because we've
Learning the
done it
hard way.
a thousand times. So there's a place for us in this world. There's a place for us
Oh,
to
yeah.
help out other people like us that are just
Mhm.
starting. And you know, it is what it is, but we can help others. Like we should be able
Yeah.
to help others. You know, yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Telling our sad tales and how
Exactly.
we,
Exactly.
I just did a post that was like, it was my best month ever and it was my worst month ever. And people would be like,
Exactly.
what? I'm like, oh yeah. Oh yes, it was. Both.
Exactly.
And it's like, you don't think that after 18 years, you think, oh, I'll have graduated and I'll know stuff. I mean, you
I,
might
I,
know
I,
stuff, but
I've
that
been telling
does
myself
not
that for 20
absolve
years.
you.
Yes. I
I
keep telling myself that
know.
for 20 years. I thought that was going to be a promised land for us. And I was like, realize that. Oh,
No, it's
yes.
not. And I think only by talking with each other do we realize we're not the one. The other thing I think that's really important about what we want to do here, and I think this is why it's really a great idea, is that you run into another business owner and you're like, "How's business?" And they're like, "It's great." And then the next week they're closed.
Yes.
Because
Oh
we
my
all
God.
are so conditioned to lie.
Yes.
Everything's
That is,
fine.
oh my gosh, that's a topic. That's a topic in itself. Like, it's just, we
I
all
mean,
say that. We all
then you're
say
like,
that.
"What happened? You just said it was great." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, I just got tired." No, you didn't. You're just out of
Exactly.
money. But I
Exactly.
mean,
Yes. Yes.
but if they had just, but I don't know why. So we're going to normalize
Oh my gosh.
reality.
Yes.
Wouldn't
Yes.
that be nice?
That would
Right?
be nice.
Like
Yes.
this is a place where you can just share your crap and that it's okay. Nobody's going to judge you. In fact, we're going to try to help you. We're going to try
Yes.
to help you figure it out. Number one, tell you you're great. Number two, tell you that you've got this. Number three, give you suggestions about what you could do if you want
Exactly.
them.
Oh,
And
yes.
number four, just like cry with you because we've
Yes.
all been there.
Yes. I love it. I love it.
I love that. Well, I think that is a good end. What do you think?
I love it. Yes. Let's do it.
Yay!
All
All
right.
right.
First one's done.
So I think episode 1 in the can.
Yes.
And and I think we'll just go every week. We're gonna do it. And
Yes.
then
Let's
maybe
do it.
we'll even get we'll like, you know what? You're gonna be at the same event I'm gonna be at the end of March, right?
Yes, I will. Yep. I'll be there.
Yeah, we could
Yes.
do live.
That would be amazing. But I think so. Let's, okay, guys. Let's end this one, and then we can kind of go over it. All right, guys. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna end. There we go. End.